At a high school party, I was drunk and ended up having a one-night stand with the best guy in our class. A month later, I found out I was pregnant. To my surprise, he proposed to me. But not long after we got married, I lost the baby. Even so, our marriage continued, though it was never warm or affectionate toward me. 2 years later, I discovered that he hadn't married me out of love. He did it to fulfill his grandfather's dying wish. To make things worse, he was still in love with another woman. That's when I decided I wanted a divorce. That night, after making love, I spoke up and said, "Ethan, we should get a divorce." My voice was soft, but I could feel his body tense in my arms. Ethan looked down at me. "Why?" he asked with the calmness he always had. "We got married because of the baby, but unfortunately the baby is gone." I looked him straight in the eyes. "I've gotten used to being alone. Honestly, with you or without you, it feels the same. But without you, I wouldn't have so many expectations or frustrations. I think you probably feel the same way. After the divorce, you wouldn't have to deal with my mother or my relatives, and I wouldn't have to put up with your disdain for my family." Ethan said nothing, just looked at me silently. His brown eyes darkened even more. When I thought he wasn't going to respond, he nodded silently. "All right, no questions, no explanations." It was just like when I had agreed to marry him, a simple, "all right." That was the Ethan I knew. I smiled at him, holding back tears, and gently buried my head in his chest, hugging him one last time. Ethan didn't react. He just let me hold him in silence. Then I carefully pulled away. "I'm going to take a shower." Just as I was about to get up from the bed, someone grabbed my arm and pulled me back onto the mattress, gently. Ethan kissed me firmly, but seeing the panic in my eyes, he stopped. His eyes were full of anger, but they gradually softened. He turned over and lay down next to me. Sleep. He closed his eyes. The next morning, when I woke up and Ethan was already gone, I started packing my things. Before leaving, I took one last look at the house where I had lived for 2 years. I left the keys and divorce papers on the table and sent Ethan a message. I signed the divorce papers and left them on the table. "Mr. Harrison will handle everything. When are you free to finalize the process? I'm leaving. Take care." Ethan was in a meeting when he got the message. When he read it, he froze. No one in the room had ever seen him so disoriented, especially his secretary, Lucy. She had known Ethan for years and had never seen him like this. "Mr. Brock," Lucy whispered, trying to get his attention. Ethan glanced at her, calmly set his phone down on the table, and continued speaking. But just when everyone thought he was fine, he suddenly ended the meeting. He grabbed his phone off the table and hurried out of the room. The others looked at each other, confused. "What's wrong with Mr. Brock?" Ethan went straight home. It was the first time he had done so during work hours. The house was clean, but there was no sign of me, only the divorce papers on the table, fluttering slightly in the breeze. Ethan approached and picked them up. The agreement was simple. I didn't want anything from him, and I had already signed it. Ethan stared at the divorce papers, lost in thought. After a while, the faint sound of a door opening could be heard. Ethan suddenly turned his head toward the door. His mother, Grace, had just walked in and was startled to see him move so suddenly. "What's going on?" she asked, confused. "Nothing," he replied coldly. "Why are you here?" "I thought Nadia might be bored alone at home, so I came to keep her company," Grace replied, smiling as she approached. "Why are you home so early today? Did something happen?" As she spoke,